Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we got a movie review for Blue Beetle, and just to get it out there, I absolutely loved this movie, so this will be a pretty positive review, just to let you know ahead of time. But it's been a while since I reviewed a movie. I've seen quite a bit of movies since my last review. Saw Barbie, Oppenheimer, Indiana Jones, and the Meg 2. They were all actually pretty decent. Not a huge fan of Barbie. Oppenheimer was great in my opinion. Meg 2 was stupid, but actually a really fun movie to watch. And then Indiana Jones wasn't that bad either, but I just didn't feel like reviewing them. But Blue Beetle, I really wanted to review because I absolutely loved it. And I think you guys should watch it because it's really not getting a lot of hype, and I haven't heard anyone talking about it. It's getting good reviews, and as usual, my reviews are usually spoiler ridden, so just giving that warning now, spoiler warning. And as I mentioned, this movie didn't really get a lot of hype to it. It was kind of swept under the rug, just like The Flash. They didn't advertise it a ton because DC's trying to save on the movies they know aren't going to do well financially. They're trying not to spend a lot of money marketing. And then also, I think the cast and crew of this movie decided to not do like additional marketing up till the movie because of the writer's strike. They're trying to support their fellow writers, which I think is really a shame that it went under the radar because this movie was great. Usually in these reviews I give like a full plot summary, but that kind of takes too long and makes these reviews drawn out. So today I'm just going to look at what I didn't like about the movie and what I did like about the movie, and just kind of give you guys a good glimpse of what the movie's about. So, Blue Beetle is a Mexican-American superhero, and he's kind of, he's not the biggest hero. He's definitely gotten a little more fame in Young Justice, which I've seen most of that show and I really like it. And he's a really cool character in that show, and he was really cool in this movie. I think he's like a very interesting, unique character. My only part I don't like about him is he kind of just gets the suit and doesn't really have to earn his powers. And that's kind of a problem with like a lot of superheroes who just have like tech. They don't really seem like they have to earn it unless they build it themselves. Because like Tony Stark works because he's so smart and he made his suit and he still like has to fight smart in the suit. And like he earned it, like he had his arc. Whereas in this, the Beetle just kind of picks Jaime. Jaime is the name of Blue Beetle. Didn't mention that. Jaime Reyes. And it kind of feels like unearned, but I think they balance it well where like it's kind of cool how it's like it shows that it picked Jaime because he's worthy. So it shows he's a good person. He actually had to like, he actually deserves getting the scarab. But it is a little like, it's just a little boring to see a hero that doesn't have to earn it. But I don't think it was too big of a problem in this movie. And just to list off a few other negatives about this movie, I want to get the negatives out of the way first because I don't want that to overshadow my positives, because I mean there's a lot more positives to this movie. But let me just list off a quick few negatives. These are like nitpicks. Big problem with a lot of these superhero movies, they do the CGI big fight scenes in the dark because they try to cover up like bad CGI. I don't think the CGI was bad in this movie, but I just think it gets boring seeing like these CGI fights just in the dark. It's not interesting to look at, visually unappealing. And then another kind of funny like trope I saw in this movie was like the hero losing their powers. This was done in the Spider-Man movies where like in order to show adversity they lose their powers and then they have to earn it back, but it's like it kind of is boring because it's like you know they're gonna get their powers back. It's just like delaying the inevitable. And at one point his suit isn't working and it's powered down in Blue Beetle, and I just was like, alright, can we just get to him like kicking butt, because I don't really care about like the adversity. It just, his suit wasn't working. Like, that's just boring. Another superhero, or more so villain trope, was the villain of this movie, what's her name? Cord, Victoria Cord. She was a decent villain, like she was definitely malicious, and I kind of liked the like hands-off, like behind the scenes approach she had where she wasn't actually doing the fighting. But she kind of like reminded me a bit too much of like a cartoon villain where she's like twirling her mustache. I know that's like, it wouldn't work with a woman, but like the like stereotypical villains like twirling their mustache in the corner, like they're almost too comical. But on the other hand, it is a superhero movie, so like it's a superhero comic book villain, and usually they are kind of like stereotypical and like, I don't know, it's not that big of a problem for a superhero movie, but sometimes those villains are just like kind of goofy. It's hard to take them seriously and they're not like really malicious. But Victoria was like a total evil like CEO, so she definitely was malicious. And then another like thing I kind of thought was a little corny was like the action scenes in this movie. It reminded me a bit of a like a Power Rangers show where like, and I think they literally borrowed some of the moves that Blue Beetle used to like when he pulls out his sword in the fight scene with Carapax at the end. That literally looked exactly like a Power Ranger like episode. So it was a little corny, some of the fight scenes, and just some of his movements were a little goofy, but I think it fits the tone of the movie. Like, it was definitely lighthearted and didn't take itself too seriously. So seeing like a kind of comical fight scene, it wasn't that bad. It didn't bother me as much as it would in like another movie where it had more of a serious tone. And then that kind of leads me to like talking about the suit. Like I said, it kind of had a Power Rangers look to it, but I think it was like well done enough that it was very polished and still looked like a cool suit. And also the suit up scenes were amazing. Like it was a kind of like scary too. It was like body horror as the Beetle's taking over. It like literally infuses itself with Jaime, and like those scenes looked really good. The CGI was great, and it was just like really interesting to watch and kind of creepy, as I mentioned too. And yeah, I don't really have too many complaints with the suit. The CGI looked good, and it looked like he actually was wearing a suit, because usually they just CGI everything, but I think he actually had a real costume that he wore. Definitely had a bit of a Power Rangers vibe to it, but it's still cool enough that I liked it. One last negative before I go on to the many positives. It definitely had a bit of a generic superhero plot line, which all these superhero movies kind of fall into, and I think people are getting like a little bored of. The movies that do it differently are really the ones that stand out. Like I can think of Infinity War, where everyone does die. Like it actually had stakes to it. I mean, obviously they come back to life in the next movie, but like a lot of these superhero movies, they just kind of like gets their powers, learns how to use the powers, and then, then actually has to fight a villain. They start out strong, and then they look like they're about to lose, but then they come back and win the fight. It's like, you know, they're not going to die. If it's a superhero origin movie, the superhero is going to win. And usually it's like first act, like I said, gets their powers. Second act, they gotta like find out who the villain is, or like they set up the plot, and then third act is big epic fight scene. So this plot line is definitely predictable and generic, and I think that's just more of a greater problem with superhero movies in general. But I think Blue Beetle was unique enough and like interesting enough that you can kind of overlook this generic plot line. Now on to the positives, and as I said, there's a lot of them. Really loved this movie. First off, I really loved the tone and the vibe. Had this cool little 80s action Miami Vice like style to it. Definitely unique for a superhero movie. I really liked the font in like the opening credits, and just the vibe to it was really cool. And like overall tone, lighthearted, which people are getting sick of these like silly comic book movies, but honestly, I don't mind that if it's a good movie and if it's actually funny. Like, perfect example of that not being, that not working out was Thor: Love and Thunder. Really tried to be goofy and silly, but it actually wasn't that funny. Even though Thor can be really funny, like Ragnarok was great, I don't think it fit Love and Thunder, and I don't think it should have been a goofy movie, but this one definitely fits. He's a lighthearted character, he's young, but he's still got a serious like situation, and the tone balances really well, like actually having stakes and giving like a good message, and like showing adversity, but still balancing that well. And strongest suit of this movie, like it actually was hilarious. George Lopez was so good. Like everything he said in this movie was hilarious. Just really funny. He was definitely like the bright spot of the movie. Definitely one of the stars. But honestly, all the actors in this movie were really good. I don't really think any of them stood out as being particularly bad. The actor for Jaime Reyes, I believe his name is Cholo Mariduena, probably butchered that, but he was really cool. Definitely like fit the character really well, looks like him, acts like him, fits the character. I think this role is made for him perfectly, and I really hope he stays in the role going forward into the DCU. His sister was really well done. Usually these superhero movies, they kind of just have like annoying like sidekicks that you're kind of just like waiting to like get away from so you can actually see the cool hero. But all the side characters, his family, like fit perfectly into the plot, and like they were just as interesting as Jaime himself. His mom, his dad, really cool relationship that they had together. The Nana, which was hilarious when she pulls up with the gun in the fight scene, how she was a revolutionary fighter. I think that was a really cool twist. Yeah, literally everyone in the family and in the cast was well acted and really likable. And then Jenny Cord, I think she might have been the weakest actress in the movie, and just some of her line delivery sounded a little like off, but it may just because of her accent. Like, I know she actually is Brazilian, so just kind of like just wasn't delivered as well. But I mean, even her, she was still really good, and like she was a really cool like love interest. But yeah, literally no weak points honestly in the acting and characters. I think DC has been showing these connections and family like messages really well in their last few movies. Like I said, Shazam, they felt like a real family and it was really heartwarming. The Flash, you saw his loss with his mom, and that was really heartfelt as well. We really like should have no reason to be like emotional for Barry, but they really stirred emotions well, and I think they did that just as well in Blue Beetle. Family was basically everything. It's Jaime's purpose and his like his motivation, and I think that's a great purpose to give a hero, and it really like will make them a noble and relatable and heartfelt character. And another aspect of the family was the culture. Really cool how like well they showed the Mexican culture. They're in Palmera City, which is fictional in the DC universe, and I think it's in Texas. And I really liked the made-up city they made. Industrialization and gentrification of the families who live there, and Cord is taking over and putting in new buildings. Thought that was a cool little subplot to the movie, and it was a really cool city. It definitely felt like you were able to like believe it was there. It really like drew you in, and it seemed real, even though it's a fake city made up for DC. But like I said, the Mexican culture really shined through, and it was really cool to see that. I'm not Mexican myself, but I have a lot of friends who are Mexican, and I work with a lot of Mexican guys, so it's kind of cool to see that culture that I've definitely like learned to love as I've gotten older and I've been a part of. So it's cool to see that on the screen, and I'm sure actual Mexicans will love to see that representation. I know people have a problem with that word, representation, but it is cool to see different cultures on the screen, and I'm sure a kid will relate to seeing someone who looks like them and their culture on the screen. So I think that's really cool. I think that's representation done well, done right, the right way. But I like how it wasn't just the setting, it really was like everything about these characters, their culture really shone through. So going forward, I guess my only complaint about this movie, a little generic plot line, but that's kind of what you expect from superhero movies. But in a grander scheme, I really hope they stick with this cast, and I hope that this movie is canon to the new DCU. It's kind of in between the old universe and the new one. James Gunn said Blue Beetle will remain in the DCU, so I'm hoping they kind of keep this iteration of the character and just kind of transfer him over to the new universe. And then at the end, we get a little teaser that Ted Kord is alive, and that was the one thing I really was hoping would show up in this movie. We don't really know anything about Ted Kord besides his little inventions and the legacy he left behind, but just that alone was like enough to get me excited for the character. And he's also not like a super well-known comic character. Like, no one thinks Ted Kord, Blue Beetle. I mean, people who actually follow the comics will know him, but the fact that like they were able to create hype for this character, I think was really well done, and I hope he shows up in the next Blue Beetle movie or in the new DCU. And I saw rumors that they want Jason Sudeikis in the role, which I think he'd be perfect for, and that makes me even more excited. And the director himself actually said he wants Sudeikis to play the part, so I hope that comes true, and I hope they're able to continue this this movie into the new universe, because I think it deserved it. It was really well done. I hope people go out to see it, and I hope it picks up money, so at least it's not a total flop, because the last few DC movies have been horrible financially. They were really good in my opinion, but they just financially didn't do well. So I hope that they're able to keep the good parts of the old universe and transfer it over to the new one. But this was one of the best superhero movies I've seen in a while. I know I kind of get recency bias after I watch a movie, and I'm also very lenient on superhero movies because I just like them even if they're bad. But I think this one genuinely was really good, and you should go watch it. I think you'll like it. That's going to be a wrap on my review for Blue Beetle. financially it may flop, but I think critically it's a great movie, and it's getting good reviews, and I have really not too many complaints about it. I really liked it. Go watch it, and make sure to subscribe for more reviews, other videos, and we'll see you next time. Peace.